She did.
I'm going to get us started, but I wanted to start by recommending a book because when Tom last week talked about Sister Theodore Bowman, I said, well, I've heard of her, but actually it was only a couple months ago because I've read this book. And it's a book by John Disney called Spirit of Justice. Just, I think, got stories of people who have been really important in that history and civil rights that you can learn. It's quite an interesting book. It's a pretty good read. All right. Session 4 of Dr. Tom.
Morning. Can everyone hear the microphone better? And Susan Marie here on Zoom. She's muted. We'll assume. I'll unmute if she can.
Can you hear us? Let us know if
You may have stepped away.
you can. Yeah, she
So today is the fourth and final day of my series on spiritual practices or spiritual resources in southern times. And no videos to watch today. So far, pretty neatly moving. So to get to start off, any questions or observations about what was last week?
thought about her off and on all week.
I think her, when people become saints, they have feast days. They're usually the day that they die. Her feast day, I think, is that's in March. Not her birthday was like the end of December, but official celebration days. So some Catholic universities will have particular celebrations over the course of the weekend. Several universities have named buildings and chapels after her. In Georgetown, Washington, D.C. for the summer. Right after Sister Theodore Bowman Chapel. Chapel for Protestant students. Some of the same kind of portraits of her, and some others I've never seen before, but just look at this drive about session. I think it's Catholic University of America in Washington Street. And there's some like great schools, one of them campus ministry. She lives on. Today I thought, I'm sort of stealing from Richard Rohr in their teaching. Pertinent one the past couple of months about what do we do with when there are people we don't like? How do we love our neighbor? Is in the medical office. So, we need a couple excerpts from meditation. So first, the first is a verse from the Gospel of Matthew. Jesus taught them, I say to you, love your enemies, pray for those. That'll Jesus knew how to do it right. And so this is actually quote from Martin Luther King Jr. I don't know if the afterwards there's a reference to the source. Um, so he starts out. Let's be practical and ask the question: how do we love our enemies? First, we must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring what has been done. Rather, evil act no longer. Second, we must recognize evil deed of the enemy neighbor in the words never quite expresses all of the law. An element of goodness may be found. There is some good in the worst of us and some evil in the best of us. When we discover this, we are less prone to hatred. When we look beneath the surface, we can also see within our enemy a measure of goodness, some of viciousness, other acts are not quite representative of all of them. We see them in a new light. We recognize that their hate grows out of fear, ignorance, prejudice, and misunderstanding. In spite of this, God etched in their beings. So God's image is ineffably etched. And we love our enemies by realizing that they are not totally bad, and that they are not beyond the reach of God. That particular that difficult or the this particular daily meditation is kind of a difficult work of loving others. Then Richard Ward himself writes in his meditation, releasing any need for regret. What I like to call holy dissatisfaction gave me my instinct for the but it also chewed me. In the first half of my life, I was constantly noticing that isn't it. It's only in the second half of my life that I finally able to pay attention, accepting that a remnant of critical mass scattered in each group of always a few within it who live above the gospel. That became enough. It was more than enough. So I was free. And finally, someone from Richard Ward's Center for Action and Contemplation, Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis, wrote, subsection of hers. So, loving imperfect people imperfectly. So she says, what will love have you do? What is a starting place to look at the world through someone else's eyes and have empathy for them? Who's the one person that you want to understand better, want to learn from, perhaps also teach? Pick a person to start with. I'm not saying go to the person but somebody who can be a conversation about what love needs to be all of us. Will you consider that one person, maybe another who can try, help you to see things differently, help you to love maybe not exactly like they were. Let's try that, won't you? We have their three kind of takes on loving an enemy, an opponent, an oppressor even, and coming to the realization that even though everyone in your group or generation do not have the same needs as you, there are always going to be some elements. And the last is kind of practical. How do you go about making an effort to love somebody that is hard to love? Going from maybe looking at the entire nation, society, community, down to our own circle of one or two neighbors. So, any initial reactions people had to those three? I heard some.
Maybe it's two different processes. Learning to love someone with whom you interact, have an opportunity to connect and share it. But if you talk about political images, you have no interaction. There's no process. It's, it's an image, it's not a real person. There's no way for me to find it. They're not, and more that can happen, but we don't have these actions. This kind of feeling out of control.
Much more possibilities for that kind of reconciliation or finding a common ground with someone that you know, either one-to-one or maybe someone that you know of a lot more closely than national or international.
See more than just an image.
Right. There's some like are seen so well who they are, what's the essence of it, what their outward performance is.
I thought when you start talking to a person, I really have a hard time seeing anything positive. I would love to find something like that John to get some balance. It's just one way for me. That's, you're still blunt, but it's my favorite book right now. He's setting a tone. Very scary. It's very deliberate. It is very deliberate. That's true.
Find a nugget of good in someone who seems to be all bad, all evil. Do you have any ideas? I mean,
I think all you can do is accept that we're not seeing projecting is everything that's good about it. That's the only way I can do it.
that's a challenge. Again, in politics and even in entertainment, you're not seeing the real person usually. So,
It's still very
say more.
just thought about it. It's very, very difficult. It's just so much hard. And so many.
But it's interesting you say that because something I didn't read from, but thought about, was pray for President Trump, even if you hate him. Wasn't Richard Gore, it was someone else.
Let's see about that. What do we pray? Have a change of heart, forbidden we are resigned persons. What are the words? Oh, you just pray for what?
Praying for a child of God.
Pray for a child of God. And so I think it's very easy. Understand.
So maybe that would be a commonality. Child of God.
A lot of
What was that? They even open up to Christ's redemptive power. I'm kind of hard. Well, I think didn't Bishop Bud or Buddy who still she talked about praying for humility, mercy. But yet Cardinal Dolan, Archbishop of New York City, essentially said the same thing at the inauguration, but he wasn't vilified. Talking about wisdom, prudence. Well, it's also because he was a man,
He's male.
authority figure,
Right.
lots of power.
Something like that, they might not have gotten the message.
You got a huge part of Trump's support base is religious people who don't believe women should speak on religious things. So a lot of misogyny.
Oh, yeah. And my observation of Cardinal Dolan is he's a politician himself and a reformer. And it kind of doesn't matter who the president's going to be. He's going to change. He is who he is. And he is still a child of God. Made in the image and likeness of God, just like all of us. How does that feel? Maybe but we have the freedom to put up all sorts of barriers that hide our similarities and images in us. But it's the spiritual life is all about. It's how to get rid of all that. I think my particular who's talking about, we're creating the image and likeness of our life and that right. Life is just like it's just big and just huge. My work is to have you clear away all of the experiences, attitudes of people around us. Growing up, that hides our truth. That takes intention. And a lot of work. And in this context, it takes prayer. Constant prayer.
One of the Bible verses that I really like, I didn't always like, is the one that says, all have sinned and by Baptist. But it's a very democratic verse. It's like great people are all kind of in some way or another coming. I found that idea comforting. Trying to sort out the politics. We're all a bunch of sins. Yeah, we're all imperfect.
And if we got in front of the world and tried to speak to the world, that people would find things to criticize us about. Maybe not the same. So kind of even going back to what we talked about the first Sunday was the situation we find ourselves in now is nothing ancient Hebrews in that over and over different rulers, whether it was Rome, Babylonian, Syrians. They had some good dictators, and they had what was it, King Cyrus? release them from the Babylon. I'm also not a New Testament scholar. Yeah. It's- um, or the countries have dictators. So you would say, well, is there anything redeeming about that person? How hard is it? Might be hard, other than to say if they were created in the image and likeness of God. Or imperfect. Some are just more imperfect than others.
And some are trying to overcome that imperfection and others sort of celebrate that. That's really sense way of feels.
But being willing to consider, even being willing just to consider an imperfection. Or consider that maybe my way isn't the only way, or is the best way. Or maybe things that I'm doing is it's hard, I think, for most people. It's hard to look at oneself and think, I did something wrong. But it's really just being imperfect, and that imperfection comes from all the dust in the accumulated. I think it's noble for one to reflect on imperfections, see how they accept them as being there, having a desire to change.
A couple of different levels on that. I mean, one is on the level of thought, I'm certainly willing to consider that I'm wrong about this. That happens all the time. Then on the level of personal imperfections, it tends to well, that's too much.
Right. Scrupulous. Scrupulosity. So what are ways, have people found ways to systematically reflect on imperfections, things that like to change about themselves? You made the effort to do that. Don't have any examples. They don't have to be huge.
Well, I'll say I tend to be a bit judgmental. Like this current context, if I find out someone will live in a certain way, I kind of think, because I'm assuming they hold all of those values themselves. Even that word, so I just think there's too much there. I consider that to be good. But sanity, I think. You know, right. So in every conversation you end up I don't want to have any big fights with anybody. I'll go there. But I live here.
You're choosing
In Oregon. Yeah, right here in Beaverton. could be. And I can almost name the different jobs I've had. Sure, that one. I actually haven't. But I think I've been successful in most cases. I haven't met any. By and large, there was a lot of good.
There's scenarios here. What about the best criticism of the bad is the practice of the better. So it sounds like you were practicing the better. And so how can we just take a faith and see for a world, for a country, meeting the thing, we've got perfect. You're at home, within a few blocks or a few miles, it's not a problem. So what's the gospel call? People of faith when it comes to we didn't say accepted things that you so peace with the thing.
One of the things that I've been hearing from people, I'm not sure I'm going to do this, but the suggestion is to pick one or two things that you feel called to take action on or to try to help with positive information, or it's whatever the area is that you feel called to do, and find a way to get involved with just that one thing, or write your representatives just about that one thing. Be a voice for one of many, many choices and issues, rather than letting yourself realize they can't fix everything. Whether they fix the thing that's they're most called to do, and then it kind of helps you to focus a little bit less.
You can dissipate it across a bunch of different things and reduces your ability to think.
Chat message from Susan. I'll take it.
We can ask her if she can hear us.
I think she can hear us. We just got disconnected for a minute.
I'm having problems with my computer, but I was just about to write, I have to go pick up somebody for church, and somehow I'm not getting the sound, but I didn't want to leave without saying that I've been listening, and I think about accepting other people, the differences, and I've been reading a lot lately about how I'm hoping that they are tolerant. I want to practice more tolerance of other people because I know that I don't always agree with them, but I hope they will tolerate me as well because I have differences also that they may not like about me. So indirectly, we're one and the same. All of us, we're all different, but basically practicing tolerance of other people is my challenge. Because I have my own thoughts too, that I'm not sure if they're interrupting the relationship or they're just, I keep them in my head and I don't talk about them. So there's not necessarily any perfection here either in myself. So, but I love the conversation.
So you were able to hear some of the conversation.
I was, but it
We did drop for a minute. The signal dropped for a minute.
Yeah, it did drop, but I wanted to let you know I was listening, and then it dropped and there was nothing. But
Right.
I do hope that I didn't repeat too much of what other people have been saying. I did hear a lot of variations, but I do think that practicing tolerance is really a challenge when we really don't know what other people are feeling sometimes about our interactions. And, politically, it's difficult. And I have that situation in my own family. We don't all agree, and it's hard not to not get into some kind of interaction that will destroy the relationship. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. It's hard. So I appreciate the time though. Thanks. I've been listening, so it's been really interesting. It's kind of where I'm at right now too. So thank you.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank
Susan.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've been out of town. I went to other places. I have been gone. So I am kind of picking up where you guys are at now. So I hope I'm going to listen to my other chats too. So, excuse me, the other 2 Sundays I missed. So I'll see you at church. I'm going to leave. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Listening to the previous.
Yeah, they're all.
No, I didn't realize.
They're all on,
What would have been helpful before today?
no, I think each week has been a standalone, pretty much.
Okay.
So,
Be sure
yeah,
you
they're all
last
there,
week's.
Southminster Connections and our YouTube channel. Right. You don't
The YouTube channel.
well, the thing is,
And you can tell me what.
know about it, yeah. It's not a fancy thing. I do think, though, that there's always a lot of issues between tolerance. I think, I agree with what Susan's saying, that you have to practice that. But then it kind of gets to what Janet was saying, which is learning how to be present in the world so that you actually can, knowing when to say something and when to not say something, because clearly you don't just tolerate things, indefinitely forever without ever trying to draw a line and say, that's really not okay, or question it. So, I think that's a point of stress for a lot of people, is making that choice. Practicing tolerance is good. I do that a lot, but then, a little bit like Janet, you kind of get to the point where you just don't want to confront things. You don't want to have conflict, and especially not in close personal relationships.
Right, it's trying to find that inkling of good in each other, rather than the things that we disagree with or whatever. Because that's the only place I can go, because if I'm focused on all of the things that I disagree with in somebody, I'm not going to be able to ever relate to them. So I try and find, what is it that we can agree on, or what is it that we, is beautiful in that person, or, vice, whatever. Which to me seems a little beyond tolerance, because tolerance is just kind of saying, well,
Right.
I'll accept whatever.
Right.
But it's actively trying to find something that is good. Or
good.
whatever, redeeming, whatever word you want to choose. Do I fall out of it?
Well, and not being overly judgmental, because like you were saying, it's like everyone is imperfect. So there's that too. It's like, I don't want to judge other people because I don't want to be judged because I.
Right.
So, yeah, these are tricky issues.
Well, I find it difficult. Okay, you don't want to judge people, but let's say you discovered that someone that you thought you knew very well, deep down is a racist.
Right, that's
I
tough.
don't find that something I want to tolerate.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was wondering.
Yeah,
And so how do you, if we're not on, is anybody on?
Nobody's on,
well,
but we're
what
recording.
do I do?
Anyway, but it's hard to see.
Draw a boundary, I do not go there. The relationship becomes quite superficial, and I don't seek out the company of that person.
Right.
Because I don't think it's in my power to change what she believes, or he. But I don't want to constantly have to pretend like I'm agreeing with something when I don't. And
Right, so how do you do that though?
I kind of put boundaries and don't spend much time with that
Yeah.
person. I'm saying I'm not proud of that, but you asked where we find out.
Yeah.
That's it.
What would Jesus do about that?
Bingo. And I thought, this is not an expression of hatred. This is an expression of fear of somebody she's not experienced. Right. Right. And then I look at my parents and I see all of this coming out in them. At times in very bad ways and at times, much more accepting. So you say somebody's a racist, that's not a simple thing to say. You're not either one or the other. Well, maybe it's not a good label, but would probably support the idea. I mean, comments like to support no hate. That's bad. Can't do that. Would say, oh, I feel so sorry for her. She's not. I don't reinterpret those things. Look, I feel so sorry for her. It's surrounded by clouds. I don't see anything. I don't think David Clark wants. Sorry, I get out. You kind of feel. Yeah. Relationship. Happened to you.
I do have a friend like that. Who's never, and I do walk with her sometimes. You kind of measure it. It's like you walk with her. You won't find him. I do. This time I've given up. You ever? So, just everything in the world, no matter what it is, and it's not changing much. It's real. I used to think 10, 15 years ago, we walked to college. And it never, she also always, she's right. But I still walk with her sometimes. We want to be walking with her every day. That would be tough, me. But I can. Probably similar to your sister. Family.
It's, but she excuses my. If I lived in, if I had to have that long, Mexico.
What kind of logic is that?
Okay. But anyway, I excuse that because it's such different worldviews. All that allows us to have a sister relationship.
But that's kind of true of my friend too. She accepts me. She knows that I go to be America.
I know you're not going to agree with this. I truly don't. Anyway.
My sister's approach. My sister is one of those people who has a million friends, great school, all the way through every job, and they're a variety of perspectives. And she just kind of starts conversations with it. I'm not going to talk about politics, religion, or money. Anything else you could talk about? Didn't come nothing. I'm not bonding with you. Experiences, family. I mean, it's a way, sort of a way, but it's also a way of being able to. Okay.
it is difficult. Years, nothing to. Sometimes years. Just told you, I'm fine.
Well, just, I know it's sort of an ending at the 9:45ish, so, I'll just put in a pitch for the Franciscan Spiritual Center. We do have a website. It's on my car. For some reason, websites it's part of my email address after. So, still there. We have a variety of programs. Individual spiritual direction, which is similar to what opening reflection, sort of start thinking and reflecting and then sharing. There's book studies, meditation. Other groups come and use our space for like centering prayer and anyway, just to do that's a resource. It's in Maryland. And you're welcome to come visit. Open, officially open 9 to 4, Monday through Thursday. But we're around. And we have a retired Presbyterian. Happens to be married to a pastor in Beaverton.
I don't think I've heard.
She's
So good though.
She's still, she's working, but not officially.
She's still working it. How's your retirement?
On my way. I'm on my way. Yeah. A few more months. Young medicine and training with storage and movie retreats.
Pretty good.
Well, and not to,
Housing.
not to discount this. But there are also others. Go through. Yeah, so there's other options.
confused. I thought Merrill goes.
It did, but the building.
I see.
And,
It's no longer.
the sisters refused to sell the property. Decided they wanted to keep the property and use it, find uses for it that would be consistent. So, there's special education school or spiritual state. Podcast found for the extra arts. Podcast Lego Super. Going to be opening up and start program. Sisters have their other house there. Using various, they tore down the dorm building. Source from the community, built a large affordable housing. So that's on the campus. So people who make too much to qualify for assistance. It was a big deal because nobody gets Mary's Woods.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is not market rate. No, but make it. Some people were like that. There actually were a lot of people. It's you're gonna do it.
especially the one on music. You gave us 4 different ways of approaching it.
Yes.
Our pleasure coming here. You're a great audience. Get invited.
Well, yes, I think we should. Luck on your.
What, liminal space, right? Transition definitely go. Yes.
This is what I need.
For a while. And then I'll. And find things, other things to do that I've always wanted to do, but during the day. Working. Yep. Volunteers.
I'm going to go to catch.
Yes,
Excuse me.
yep, and I'll shut down. Everybody, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a card by the oops.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Busy, I'm stupid. I never checked that. I found I went to the. It just shoots long.
Well, I it happens when it happens.
Oh, yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to junk mail. I have people in my address book in junk mail.
No,
I have people that are in my email. I regularly get email. For some reason. It's randomly.
Oh, message. Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't have to check. I haven't updated it. Well. Then people will.